White waitress dumps water on black pregnant woman, unaware she's the Mafia boss's wife. Before we start today's story, comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what's next. It was 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Amara, a pregnant black woman, sat all alone at a table in a very fancy restaurant. She was wearing a beautiful, expensive dress that must have cost thousands of dollars. Her hands were resting on her big belly. She was 7 months pregnant, and she kept looking at her phone, feeling worried. She had been waiting for 20 minutes, and she could tell that people in the restaurant were staring at her and whispering to each other. Amara's hand moved to her stomach, and her baby gave a tiny kick, almost like it could feel that something was wrong. Suddenly, Emily, a young white waitress, came over. Emily was angry and upset about many things in her life, and she didn't care who she hurt. Without saying a word, she grabbed a whole glass of ice-cold water and dumped it all over Amara's expensive dress. The freezing water soaked all the way through to Amara's skin. Amara gasped as the cold water shocked her body. She tried to pull her dress away from her skin, but it was too late. Emily leaned in close and whispered, "Oops, my bad. Maybe you should go somewhere you actually belong instead of pretending to be something you're not." Her voice was full of meanness, and the words hurt more than the cold water. Immediately, the whole restaurant went silent. Every fork froze in the air. Every person stopped talking. People turned their heads to watch. Amara was sitting there, 7 months pregnant, water dripping from her ruined dress. Her hands were shaking because of the cold and the shock. She felt embarrassed and scared. She worried about her baby. But even though her body trembled, Amara did not cry. She controlled her feelings, because she knew her baby needed her to be strong. Slowly, Amara stood up. Water was still dripping from her dress, falling onto the shiny marble floor. Her eyes were full of anger, but she didn't scream. She looked Emily straight in the eyes and said in a quiet voice, "You have no idea what you just did." Her voice was soft, but it carried power, and it made everyone lean forward to hear. Then, Amara did something surprising. She reached into her purse, where she kept some money. She carefully counted the exact cost of her meal and put it on the table. She also left a $500 tip. Even though her dress was ruined and she was very upset, she acted with dignity. She walked slowly toward the door, holding back tears, keeping her head high, and showing everyone her strength. Emily was shocked. She thought she had won, but deep down, she felt something was wrong. She turned to her co-workers and whispered, "Finally got rid of her," trying to hide her unease. Outside the restaurant, Amara walked to the black SUV parked in front. A tall, serious-looking man stepped out of the car. This was Marcus, Amara's husband. When he saw his wife trembling and crying, his face changed. He was calm, but there was a dangerous seriousness in his eyes. "What happened?" he asked gently. Marcus's hands were careful as he helped Amara into the car, even though he was feeling a building anger inside him. Amara looked back at the restaurant and then at her husband. Her voice broke a little as she said, "Someone needs to learn respect." Those 4 words carried a strong meaning. Marcus's face tightened. He knew that someone had been very cruel to his wife and that this was not okay. Emily thought she had picked on someone weak. She didn't know she had made a huge mistake. Emily Carter was 26 years old. She was a single mother working 2 jobs at the restaurant just to survive. She lived in a small apartment that felt too tight, with walls that seemed to close in every night. 3 weeks before this incident, she had been passed over for a promotion she really wanted. The rejection had been hurting her deeply. Every night she lay awake, thinking about why life was so hard for her. She compared herself to others who seemed to have everything, and it made her bitter. Emily had been mean to other black customers before. She would make jokes and rude comments, thinking it made her feel better. Every time she hurt someone, she felt a small satisfaction that she was above them. The restaurant managers didn't stop her because she was clever at pretending she was the victim when complaints were made. Emily didn't know that the woman she had just humiliated was Dr. Amara Bennett. Amara was 32 years old, very smart, and a pediatric surgeon. She saved children's lives every day. Amara was very rich, worth $50 million, but she stayed kind, humble, and generous. She never forgot her own humble beginnings, and she never judged people for how much money they had. Marcus Bennett, Amara's husband, was a very successful businessman. He owned construction companies, security companies, and many buildings in 3 states. He had built an empire from nothing, legally and honestly. Some people whispered that Marcus had secret connections, and that he could get things done quietly that most people couldn't even imagine. Charlie Dinner, the restaurant, was one of the fanciest in town. A single meal there cost more than Emily earned in a whole week. But Emily didn't care about rules or consequences. She was too angry at life and wanted to take her frustration out on anyone who seemed weaker than her. After the water incident, Emily felt proud of herself. She told her coworkers what she had done. She even posted it on social media. "I had to teach fake rich people a lesson," she bragged. Her friends liked and commented on it, which made her feel happy for a moment. But deep inside, something felt hollow. She was not really proud of herself. Meanwhile, Marcus began to quietly investigate who Emily was. He was angry, but he didn't act immediately. He wanted justice. He wanted to make sure that what she had done would have consequences. Marcus discovered many things about Emily. She had an ex-husband who owed dangerous people money. Her mother was very sick and needed expensive medicine. Her 8-year-old son needed surgery that she could not afford. Emily's life was very hard. She was desperate. She was struggling in every part of her life, and this had made her lash out at innocent people because she felt powerless. Marcus also discovered that many parts of Emily's life were connected to him in ways she didn't know. The pharmacy where her mother got medicine was in a building Marcus owned. Her son went to the elementary school where Amara volunteered every Friday to help sick and poor children. Her ex-husband had borrowed money from one of Marcus's friends 6 months earlier. Everything was connected, and Marcus could see all of it. 3 weeks after the water incident, strange things started happening to Emily. First, her work hours were cut from 40 hours a week to 25. When she asked her manager why, she cried because she was really worried, but the manager had no answers. Meanwhile, the restaurant started losing customers. A video of the water incident went viral online. People were angry. They canceled reservations and spoke out against the restaurant. Then Emily's apartment rent suddenly went up by $400. When she called the building office, she cried into the phone and asked them to help, but they told her that the increase was because of new policies and the market. They didn't seem to care about her problems. She didn't know that Marcus had secretly bought her building through a company he controlled. Her car insurance also went up by 60% after a routine check. She was now considered a high-risk driver. Everything seemed to be going wrong at the same time, but it was all very carefully planned by Marcus. Marcus had decided not to act in a hasty way. He didn't want to hurt Emily for fun. He wanted her to understand that what she had done was wrong. She had attacked someone who was kind, smart, and vulnerable in a way that could have been dangerous to her baby. Marcus's actions were not random. They were precise and measured. Emily had thought she had humiliated someone weak, but she didn't know that Amara's family was powerful and connected. Marcus wanted justice, not revenge. He wanted to make sure that Emily learned a lesson she would never forget. Meanwhile, Amara stayed at home, recovering from the shock of the incident. The emotional stress had caused early contractions, and she had to go to the hospital that night. She sobbed in Marcus's arms, not from pain in her body, but from the sadness and humiliation she had experienced. Marcus stayed calm, holding her close and making sure she felt safe. Marcus worked quietly. He did not call the police or make a public scene. He knew that Emily's life was already very fragile. She had so many problems. But he also knew that he had to act, to make sure that she understood the gravity of what she had done. Emily's life continued to get harder in small ways. She lost some shifts at the restaurant, and the restaurant itself began losing more customers because of social media outrage. People posted online about how cruel she had been to Amara. The video of the water incident was seen by thousands of people. Everyone talked about it. Her friends stopped liking her posts as much. Then, her apartment rent went up, her car insurance went up, and she started receiving bills that she could barely pay. It seemed like everything was falling apart. She cried many nights alone in her small apartment. She didn't understand why things were going so wrong all at once. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to monitor everything carefully. He wanted Emily to realize that actions have consequences. She had hurt an innocent person, someone who did not deserve to be treated badly, and she needed to understand that life is not a game. Emily felt more and more alone. She tried to call friends for help, but they were busy or did not answer. She tried to cry to her manager about her hours being cut, but the manager simply followed company rules. She tried to get help from the building office about the rent, but they said it was policy. She tried to call her car insurance, but they said her premium was based on standard rules. Every little part of her life seemed to be affected. Her money problems got worse. Her family problems were still there. Her son still needed surgery. Her mother still needed medicine. And she couldn't understand why. All of this was happening because she had been cruel to someone who did not deserve it. Amara had shown grace and dignity. She had been calm even when Emily humiliated her. Marcus had watched everything carefully and decided that Emily needed to feel the consequences, to learn a lesson she would never forget. Amara, on the other hand, focused on her baby and her health. She knew that staying calm and strong was important. She kept helping children at her hospital and volunteering at schools. Even though Emily had been mean, Amara did not let it change her. She kept being kind and generous. Marcus supported Amara every step of the way. He protected her and their unborn child. He made sure that justice was done without anyone getting hurt unnecessarily. His actions were precise. He wanted to make sure that Emily realized the seriousness of what she had done. Emily eventually began to understand, slowly, that actions have consequences. The more she suffered, the more she realized that being mean and cruel could hurt not only other people but also herself. She learned that taking anger out on innocent people only makes life worse. And so, the story showed that even small acts of cruelty can have big consequences, and that kindness, dignity, and calmness can stand stronger than anger and meanness. Amara stayed strong, her baby was safe, and Marcus ensured that justice was served in a careful, precise way that taught a very important lesson. Emily screamed into the phone at the insurance company. She wanted answers, but no one would give her any. They said there were old problems in her account that made her bills go up. But those problems weren't real. They were made up by Marcus's people on paper. They had created fake papers to make her life harder. In just 1 month, Emily's life felt like it was falling apart. She didn't understand why everything was going wrong at the same time, like the world was against her. She worked extra jobs to try to make money. She served food at parties, cleaned offices at night, and did anything she could to earn a little cash. But no matter how hard she worked, money was always tight. Her mother needed expensive medicine, and the cost kept going higher. Her son Liam's doctor bills were stacking up because he was sick. Her ex-husband's debt collectors called more and more, their voices sounding scary each time. Emily started blaming everyone for her problems. She cried a lot during nights when she couldn't sleep. She thought the restaurant bosses were unfair, the apartment landlords were greedy, and the insurance company was bad. She blamed everyone but herself. She didn't think about how her actions might hurt others. Meanwhile, Marcus was carefully planning everything. He didn't need to yell or hurt anyone. He had a clever way to make Emily's life fall apart slowly, using business rules and connections like a spider making a web. He was patient, watching Emily struggle bit by bit. He moved carefully, making sure everything happened in exactly the right way. But Amara, Marcus's wife, found out what he was doing. And instead of being scared or upset, she felt a strange satisfaction. "I want to make sure she knows what happens when someone hurts our family," she said. Marcus looked at his wife, surprised. He could see something new in her. The gentle, caring doctor he loved had a fire inside her now. She had changed. "I thought you'd want me to stop," he said. "I thought this would be too much for you." Amara felt strong emotions she had been holding inside her heart, but revenge was stronger. She remembered the night Emily poured cold water on her while she was pregnant, called her names in front of strangers, laughed at her, and stressed her so much that she almost went to the hospital. Amara said, "She's a single mom with a sick child. Good. Maybe now she'll understand how it feels to watch someone you love get hurt while others decide your fate." Marcus felt worried. He wanted justice for his wife, but this anger in her eyes made him uneasy. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. "Once we go down this path, there's no turning back." Amara's voice cracked as tears fell. "She made me feel like nothing, Marcus. Like I didn't deserve to exist. There's no such thing as too far when someone tries to hurt your humanity. I want her to feel powerless, just like I did that night." Marcus watched, nervous. The kind, caring woman he married had changed. The woman in front of him was full of fire, made stronger by hatred and humiliation. He didn't know if he could stop what she wanted to do. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and share your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to drop a heart to show your support. Amara smiled, sharp like a knife. "I want her to lose everything, just like she tried to hurt me. I want her to know that actions have consequences. And Marcus, I want her to know it was me. I want her to know the woman she thought was weak is the one who made her life collapse." Marcus felt a chill. He had awakened something in his wife that might be too powerful to stop. Emily had no idea that the gentle doctor she had hurt had now become her most dangerous enemy. Amara's stress was also hurting her pregnancy. She had more contractions, gasping in pain, and more trips to the hospital. Doctors warned that stress could make her baby come too early, which could be very dangerous. All of this happened because Emily had humiliated Amara. Marcus got another emergency call. His hands shook as he drove fast to the hospital. He realized something had changed inside him. He had to protect his family. This was no longer just about revenge. Someone's actions were now putting his child's life at risk. Emily's behavior had caused a chain reaction of stress that could hurt Amara's unborn baby. Every contraction, every tear, every sleepless night could be traced back to the moment Emily poured water on Amara because of her skin color. Marcus's need to protect his family had become stronger than anything else. 3 weeks after that terrible night at Charlie dinner, Emily's life became a nightmare. It started with a phone call that froze her in place. Her 8-year-old son, Liam, had collapsed at school while playing. He clutched his chest and couldn't breathe. The school nurse's voice was panicked and scared over the phone. Emily's heart stopped. She ran to the hospital as fast as she could, her hands shaking, her mind filled with fear. The emergency doctors told her something that felt like a nightmare. Liam needed heart surgery immediately because a problem in his heart had suddenly become very dangerous. Without surgery, he could die in just 48 hours. Emily felt her heart break. She didn't have $34,000 she needed for the operation. Her insurance would only pay half. She felt dizzy and panicked. While she was trying to figure out what to do, her phone rang again. The restaurant, Charlie Dinner, fired her. They said she had made the restaurant lose many rich customers and cost them over $200,000. They didn't care about her son's life. They didn't care about her tears. They were only worried about their money. Then her mother's pharmacy called. The medicine her mother needed was no longer covered by insurance, and now it would cost $4,000 a month. Emily didn't have that money. She felt like her whole world was burning. She felt trapped. She had no money, no help, and too many problems at the same time. Her landlord served her eviction papers. She had 7 days to pay more rent or she and her family would be homeless. She felt like she was drowning in a sea of problems. She didn't know how she could survive. Emily held Liam's small hand in the hospital. He was unconscious, connected to machines that beeped and hummed with the rhythm of his struggling heart. Her heart hurt watching her son suffer. She wanted to take his pain away, but she couldn't. She felt powerless. Dr. Nathaniel, a serious pediatric surgeon, looked at Emily and said, "Mrs. Carter, your son is very sick. We need to operate within the next 24 hours. The surgery is very complicated and very expensive. Without it, his life is in danger." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know what to do. She wished someone would save her, that someone would give her a way to fix all these problems at once. But there was no one. She was alone. She felt crushed. Everywhere she looked, there were problems. Her apartment, her job, her insurance, her mother, and now her son. It was like the world was testing her in the hardest way possible. She worked as hard as she could, but no matter what she did, it was never enough. Meanwhile, Amara and Marcus watched from a distance. They saw Emily struggling and knew that everything that had happened was a consequence of her own actions. They had not used violence or threats. They had only let life respond to what Emily had done. She had humiliated Amara, hurt her feelings, and created a chain reaction of pain. Now she was learning what it meant to be powerless, to have someone she loved in danger, and to watch her world fall apart. Even though Marcus wanted justice, he was worried about how much pain Amara was willing to cause. He saw the fire in her eyes and wondered if it was too much, but Amara felt justified. She remembered the fear and humiliation that Emily had caused, and it made her strong in a way that scared Marcus. Emily had no idea that the gentle doctor she had laughed at and hurt was now the person controlling how her world was collapsing. It wasn't a random accident. It was carefully planned consequences, not violence, not threats, but life responding to her actions. As Emily sat in the hospital room, holding Liam's hand, she realized that money, work, and time were not enough. Life could be cruel when people acted without thinking. Every choice she had made, every cruel word, every unfair action, had led to this moment. She felt scared, sad, and alone. She wished she could turn back time and fix everything, but she couldn't. Liam's surgery was going to be expensive and complicated. She didn't know how she could pay for it. Her tears fell as she thought about her mother, her apartment, and her lost job. Everything was going wrong at once. And yet, she had no one to blame but herself. The choices she had made had created this storm. And outside, Amara and Marcus waited, knowing that Emily's life was finally giving her a lesson she would never forget. The night she humiliated Amara had started a chain of events that had changed everything. And now, Emily Carter would feel what it was like to be powerless, scared, and in danger, just like she had made Amara feel. The total cost will be $68,000. Emily felt like the floor had disappeared under her feet. That number, $68,000, hit her like a giant rock. She could barely breathe. "I don't have that much money," she whispered, her voice shaking. "My insurance only pays for half. There has to be another way." Dr. Nathaniel looked at her with kind, gentle eyes. "I know this is really hard," he said. "I understand how scared you are. There might be a way to get help. There is a man in the city who sometimes helps families who cannot pay for their children's surgeries. His name is Marcus Bennett. He has a foundation that gives money to families in big trouble. He has helped many people who were desperate. He might be your best chance." Emily's heart leapt a little. She didn't know this man. But if he could help her son Liam, she would do anything. She would crawl on her knees if she had to. "How do I find him?" she asked, almost whispering, her voice trembling with hope. Dr. Nathaniel nodded slowly. "His office is downtown. It's called Cruz Construction and Development. But Mrs. Carter, you have to be very careful. Decisions like this are serious. You will have to tell him your story in person. You have to show him how important this is." 2 hours later, Emily was standing in a big, shiny lobby. The walls sparkled, the floor shined, and everything smelled clean and new. She held Liam's medical papers tight in her hands. Her hands were shaking so much that she almost dropped them. She felt very small in this huge place. The receptionist looked at her and listened carefully. When she heard why Emily was there, she smiled a little and said, "Mr. Bennett will see you right away." Emily's heart beat so fast that she thought it might jump out of her chest. A door opened, and a tall man stood looking out the big window at the city. He was quiet. He turned around slowly. Emily gasped. Her stomach flipped. She knew this man. He was the same man she had seen outside a restaurant 3 weeks ago. "So," Marcus said, his voice calm and slow, like a deep drum. He pointed to a chair. "Sit down." Emily felt like the ground had disappeared again. "You're Emily Carter," he said. "You are the woman who poured water on my wife. You said she didn't belong in a nice restaurant." Emily felt cold all over. She remembered that day. She remembered the water splashing, the anger in her own heart, and the way she had tried to humiliate someone just because she was angry inside. She felt her heart breaking. "Yes," Marcus said. "I am the man whose life was hurt because of that. My wife had a hard time because of what you did. My family had a lot of trouble. You caused a lot of sadness and worry." Emily could not stop crying. Her tears ran down her cheeks, her shoulders shook, and her sobs were so big it sounded like thunder in the room. "My son," she cried. "He is very sick. He needs surgery. I know what I did was terrible. I know I hurt your wife. I will apologize publicly. I will work for free. I will do anything you ask. Please don't punish my boy for what I did. He is only a little boy. He didn't do anything wrong." Marcus looked at her for a long time. He saw how completely broken she was. He saw her tears, her fear, and her deep regret. He looked at her and did not speak for a while. "You need $68,000 to save your son," Marcus said finally. "And the money you owe me is about the hurt and stress you caused my family. $68,000 is a lot, but it is also the price of a lesson you need to learn. Sometimes life teaches us lessons in very hard ways." Emily felt like her knees had turned to jelly. She could barely stand. "Please," she begged. "He is just a little boy. He has never hurt anyone. Please don't let him die because of my mistakes." Marcus thought about it. He looked at her. He saw the deep pain and the fear. Then Amara, Marcus's wife, came into the room. She saw Emily crying and feeling so broken. Emily tried to speak to her. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I was angry and sad about my own life. I thought you were pretending to be rich. I thought you didn't belong there. I thought it was okay to hurt you. I wanted to make you feel bad because I felt bad inside. I was cruel. I was mean. I am so sorry." Amara listened. She did not yell. She did not get angry. She just looked at Emily with a steady, serious, but soft voice. "You chose to be mean to me when I was pregnant," she said. "That was very scary. You could have hurt my baby. You could have hurt me too. That was wrong. Very wrong." Emily could barely speak. She was shaking so much. "Please," she whispered. "Don't let my son die because of what I did. He is only a little boy. He didn't do anything wrong." Marcus studied both women for a long, tense moment. He saw how truly sorry Emily was. He saw her broken heart. Amara looked at her husband and quietly asked him to help. Marcus surprised everyone, even himself. "I will pay for the surgery," he said to Emily. "But later, you will have a very serious talk with me about what happened." Emily felt like a giant weight was lifted from her chest. Liam's surgery would happen. The surgery was long. It took 8 hours. For Emily, those 8 hours felt like 8 years. She could not eat. She could not sleep. She waited in the hospital hall, her hands shaking, watching the clock, praying that her son would be okay. Finally, the surgery was over. Liam was stable. He was breathing on his own. He was still sleepy, but he was safe. Emily fell to her knees in the hospital hallway, crying so hard that her body shook. Her sobs echoed off the walls. She was so tired, so scared, and so grateful all at once. 3 days later, Amara came to visit Emily in Liam's hospital room. Emily had barely eaten, barely slept, and looked very tired. Her dark circles under her eyes were big, and she had lost weight from worry and crying. "Mrs. Carter," Amara said gently, sitting on the chair next to Liam's bed. "We need to talk about what happens next." Emily could barely look at her. "I keep thinking about your baby," she whispered. "When I poured water on you, you were 7 months pregnant. I could have hurt your baby. I could have hurt you too. What kind of person does that?" Amara's eyes filled with tears too, but not just for herself. She looked at Emily with something like gentle strength. She saw that Emily was truly sorry. Her heart was broken, and she wanted to be a better person. Her face had changed. The anger was gone. What was left was sadness and regret. "You have a choice," Amara said. "You can keep hurting people like you did before. Or you can try to change. Saying sorry is not enough. You have to show it. You have to become a better person. You have to make your heart better, not just your words. You have to change the way you act every day." Emily's voice was small, trembling, but honest. "I deserve the bad things that happened to me because of what I did," she said. "But I will try. I will change. I want to be better. I want to be someone my son can be proud of. I want to be kind and never hurt anyone like that again." Emily's story did not end there. She decided to speak publicly. She went to the same restaurant where she had been cruel and mean. She did not read words that someone else wrote. She spoke from her heart. She told everyone about what she had done. She told everyone that she had hurt someone very badly, and she had been wrong. "I poured ice water on a pregnant woman," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. "I thought she didn't belong there. But the truth is worse than that. I wanted to hurt her. I wanted to make her feel small because I felt so bad inside. That was cruel. That was wrong. I am very sorry." Emily spoke about Dr. Amara Bennett. She said, "Dr. Bennett saves children's lives. She is very kind and smart. She helps people even when she has a lot of money. She volunteers. She is everything I pretended she was not. I was mean, and she was good. I will never forget that lesson." People watched Emily on television and online. They saw her tears and heard her words. Millions of people felt sad for what happened, but they also felt hope. Emily's story helped people talk about being kind and saying sorry. It helped people understand that even when you are angry or hurt inside, it is never okay to hurt someone else. Emily learned a very hard lesson. She learned that hurting someone else because you are hurting yourself is always wrong. She learned that being truly sorry means more than words. It means changing how you act every day. She learned that even when people are hurt by you, they can be kind and forgiving. Emily worked hard to be a better person. She wanted her son Liam to see that his mother could be kind, loving, and responsible. She wanted to never hurt anyone again. Every day, she remembered the lessons she learned from Marcus and Amara. She remembered the pain she caused, and she remembered the hope and help they gave her son. Emily's life changed forever. She learned about kindness, forgiveness, and true courage. She learned that it is never too late to try to be a better person. And she never forgot that her son's life was saved by people who were good and brave, even when she had been cruel. Her story became famous because it showed everyone that mistakes are serious, but people can choose to change. Emily worked every day to be better. She apologized. She helped others. She loved her son with her whole heart. She learned that life is about making choices, and the best choice is always kindness. Emily looked straight into the camera. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, but they shone with strong determination. "I hurt my own son with my hatred," she said softly. "He's 8 years old. I was teaching him it's okay to be mean to people just because of their skin color. But the woman I tried to hurt with my racism saved his life. And I almost ruined his chance to grow up to be a good person by teaching him to hate. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. I'm asking for a chance to spend the rest of my life showing that people can change. That the worst parts of ourselves don't have to control us forever. That love can grow even in a heart that was once full of hate." Emily didn't just go to diversity training. She threw herself into it with the kind of desperation someone feels when they need to save their own soul. The very first session made her cry all over again. She heard story after story from people who had suffered just like Amara Cirone did because of someone else's hate. A successful black businessman shared how he was followed in stores by security guards who thought he might steal. A Latina doctor told how patients thought she was cleaning staff because they couldn't believe someone with her skin could be a doctor. A black mother cried as she told how her children had already experienced racism at school, being told they didn't belong. Coming home, Emily cried. She realized with a sick feeling that she was part of a huge system that hurt innocent people every single day. She had been helping that system, even without meaning to. At a center for pregnant women, Emily met Zoe, a young black mom who reminded her painfully of Amara. Zoe was scared, alone, and didn't have enough money for prenatal care. When Emily first tried to help, Zoe didn't trust her. Emily felt sad seeing how careful Zoe had to be because people had hurt her before. "I know you have no reason to trust me," Emily said, her voice shaking. "But I want to help. I need to prove to myself that I can be better than I used to be. I want to learn to heal instead of hurt." Slowly, with many small acts of kindness, Zoe began to trust Emily. When Zoe had her baby girl, she asked Emily to be in the delivery room. When Emily held that perfect baby in her arms, tears ran down her face. Looking at the innocent eyes of that little girl, Emily understood what she had almost destroyed when she had been full of hate. 6 months later, Emily had completely changed. But the feelings that made her a new person were even deeper than before. She had become a strong supporter of equality at her work. But most importantly, she had become someone her son could be proud of, instead of ashamed of. When Amara and Marcus walked into Bella Vista restaurant 6 months later, Emily was working there with their baby daughter, Isabella, sleeping in her carrier. Emily's heart raced. She had been hoping for this moment, but also afraid of it. "Dr. and Mr. Bennett," Emily said, her voice steady but her eyes full of tears. "Welcome to Bella Vista. It's an honor to serve you tonight." Amara looked at Emily closely. She saw someone completely changed. The angry, bitter woman was gone. In her place was a person full of warmth and wisdom, someone who had walked through pain and come out shining. "Emily," Amara said softly, her voice full of forgiveness. "How are you doing?" "I'm becoming someone my son can be proud of," Emily said, her voice full of quiet determination and deep gratitude. "Every day, I work to be someone who deserves the kindness you gave me when I deserved nothing but punishment." Emily started training new staff. "Every person who comes through this door is someone's child, parent, someone very important," she told them. Her voice carried the weight of lessons learned through pain and mistakes. One young waitress asked quietly, "But what if you really don't think someone belongs here?" Emily's voice trembled as she spoke from her heart. "Then you remember that love is always the answer. Always. Every time. The moment you think someone doesn't belong because of how they look, you've already forgotten that we're all just people trying to live in this world together." She looked around at the faces of her team, people from every race and background. Marcus Bennett could have destroyed her completely, and Dr. Amara Bennett could have let her son die, and no one would have blamed them. But instead, they taught her that anyone can be forgiven if they do the hard work of changing. Emily's voice broke one last time as she shared the lesson that saved her. "The person I was with died that day in the hospital when I realized what my hatred cost me. The person I am now was born from their mercy. Every day, I choose to honor that gift by making sure no one else has to learn these lessons the hard way, through loss and pain. Hate destroys everything it touches, especially the person who carries it." The cycle of prejudice didn't just stop. It turned into a cycle of love, understanding, and real human connection, spreading out like ripples on water. Emily Carter learned that the most powerful thing in the world isn't hate or revenge. It's having the courage to choose love, even when everything around you tells you to hate, and the strength to keep choosing it every single day for the rest of your life. That is true redemption. It didn't just change Emily. It changed everyone she touched for the rest of their lives, creating an endless chain of healing far beyond what anyone could see. If this story moved you, please subscribe for more kind and powerful stories. Watch our next video for another unforgettable journey. And share this story with someone who needs it today.